Okay, so this one is going to be a bit long and a rambly video, so get yourself a cup of coffee or tea, whatever you fancy, and let's get started. So this past year has been really crazy, from coming out of the lockdown to getting my first job experience in France to improving myself in different areas. I actually learned a lot, and so in today's video I wanted to share 11 lessons that I learned in 2021 that drastically changed my life, that I will definitely move forward with in the year 2022. And as a matter of fact, this life lesson video is actually my 50th video on the channel, so I'm actually double excited about this. So let's hop on to the first lesson. What is obvious to you can be amazing to others. Now this lesson is actually what pushed me to create the YouTube channel in the first place. So let's backtrack a little bit. Whenever I read a book or a blog post or listened to any audiobook or a podcast, I used to always think, what an amazing idea. And I used to always also think, why are my ideas so basic? Then I came across this blog post titled "What's obvious to you can be amazing to others," and it really changed my perspective, because I used to always think that ideas that are coming from others are always amazing, and my own ideas are very basic. So I did an experiment, an idea which I actually thought myself was basic. I shared that idea with a group of friends, and almost 70 to 80% of them said that the idea was amazing. So the lesson here is that if you have knowledge about something, if you're skilled at something, after a particular point you might feel that the basic things about that particular skill or that particular topic is very basic, and it will be of no use if you share it. But you might be wrong here, because what is basic to you can be amazing to others. Just like when you had no idea about the topic at all and you went on and did your work and now you're skilled at it, there will be numerous people who have no knowledge about that topic whatsoever. So always share, even if you think it is the most basic thing, because there might be someone for whom that particular thing is amazing. So moving on to the second lesson, which is actually focus on things that make you go hell yes or no. So the concept here is that when you are building something, when you are young or you have just started out, you have a lot of time to invest, maybe learning something new, maybe networking with other people and taking advantage of any opportunity that comes your way. So at that point of time, you should say yes to everything. But after a certain point, when you know what is the value of your time, when you have 2 to 3 things that are very important to you, you should not take up things or say yes to every single opportunity that comes your way. After a certain point, you should adopt the philosophy of hell yes or no, which basically is, if something comes across to you, if that thing makes you go hell yes, only then take up that opportunity. Otherwise just say no, so that you can have ample amount of time to maximize whatever you already have on your plate. Now moving on to the third lesson, which is the compound effect is key. Now let's start with a small math problem. If someone offers you the choice between taking $25 million today or taking 5 cents that doubles in value every single day for the next 30 days, what would you pick? Now if you come across this question in a normal scenario, most people would take the $25 million. But since you know that I'm asking this question right now, you might know that the answer would be the other one. So on the very first day after doubling, you would have 10 cents, and then after the second day you would have 20, and after the 10th day you would have about 4920 cents, which is just still $49 compared to the other option, $25 million. But hang on, after the 20th day you would have 524,880 cents, which is about $52,000, still nothing compared to the $25 million. So here is when the compounding effect actually starts. So finally after 30 days, the amount will be 5,368,709,120 cents, which is around $53 million, and it is more than double of $25 million. Compounding is actually one of the most magical things in the world, and the sooner we realize it, the more we can benefit from it. And it applies to all the areas, be it your health, be it starting a business, starting a YouTube channel, developing a bad habit, or investing your money. Everything will go through a compounding effect if you just stay consistent with it. All you need to think about is what are the things that you want to compound. Now moving on to the fourth lesson, which is freedom is the ultimate goal. Whatever we do in our life, I think most of the people will agree with me that in all the aspects, freedom is our ultimate goal. Sure, career is super important for a lot of you, and even for some, money is super important as well. But just think about it, even with money or career, at the end of the day, freedom is the only thing that you are looking for. With an established career or with money, you get the freedom to spend time doing things you love with people that you care about. You get the freedom from worrying about the bills that you have to pay, the loans you have to repay, and the expenses that you have to bear. No matter what area of life we consider, our ultimate goal is always the freedom. Freedom to make our own choices and never depend on any external circumstances. So moving on to the fifth lesson, which is time is your greatest asset. Now we have always heard about this simple phrase that time is limited and once you spend it, it is never going to come back. And this past year has made me realize the importance of this statement more than any other year before. Now coming to a foreign country, starting my master's program obviously required a lot of sacrifices, experiences, and most important of all, the realization of actually creating a career path for me that I can be proud of. So at the start of 2020, around the second trimester, everybody from my batch, they started applying for internships and jobs, and that is when I started as well. So and at the end, when I look back, I did get a good summer internship and I got an apprenticeship as well, which I'm following right now. But sometimes I do think what would have happened if I had started even 1 week or a month earlier than that. Maybe I could have gotten more opportunities in areas I would have loved more. But the lesson that I learned here that I will take with me moving forward is that whenever we want to achieve something, we never think about the contribution of time in the whole scenario. At least not until it is very late. The time that we have right now is very precious for everybody, and more so for people in their 20s who have just started to build their career. Of course, you can take time off to relax and take care of yourself, but other than that, don't waste an ounce of it. And now moving on to the sixth lesson, which is don't time the market. Now in the compounding effect lesson, I mentioned that everything you want can go through a compounding effect, and that goes with investing your money as well. And actually letting your money compound over time when it comes to investing is basically the 101 of creating wealth. So after reading a couple of books on finance and talking to people who have been doing this for decades, firstly I realized one thing. I'm not the kind of person who wants to spend 5 to 6 hours every day looking at charts and financial statements trying to understand the company. And the second thing is that even if it is not 5 to 6 hours every single day, I am not the kind of person who wants to do trading every single day, which basically means that I want to put my money into funds that are low risk and that gives me a systematic plan of investing. And that is when I started investing in SIPs. I still invest in individual stocks, IPOs, and even the crypto market, but the basic fundamental that I follow behind each and every financial decision is that I don't try to time the market. I invest for the long run, 10, 20 or even 30 years into the future, and I don't play the game of buying and selling every single day. And actually for some time I have been thinking about creating a video on investing, basically how to invest for students and young professionals. So if this is something you are interested in, then let me know in the comments below. So before moving on to the seventh lesson, if you are still watching at this point, first of all, thank you so much. And it would really help me a lot if you consider liking this video and also subscribing to the channel. It will actually tell the algorithm that this video is interesting and it will help me get this video in front of new people. So moving on to the seventh lesson, books are the single greatest source of information and the best way possible to tap into someone else's brain. So over the past 2 years, ever since getting into ESSEC and starting this YouTube channel, I have talked to many aspiring students who want to come abroad and start their master's program, but unfortunately I have never had the accessibility to some mentors that I would like for my own personal growth. The only way that I have tapped into potential mentors is through books. And just look at some facts here. Whenever somebody is writing a book, the author would roughly take about 6 to 8 months to put together that book. And obviously he or she would typically put their best work, their best ideas and their best thoughts into that book. So tell me, why wouldn't you read that book? Reading for me has definitely become the best possible way to download someone else's brain, someone else's thought process into mine. So the 8th lesson is basically don't fall into the comparison trap. I basically talked about this in a video I made after spending 6 months in France. I actually made the mistake of comparing what I was doing with what others were doing. So to pull myself out of this rut, I started watching a few videos from creators that inspire me personally, and thankfully I was able to get out of it. I am still not at a point where I never compare myself with others, but I think I might be at the 90th percentile because I have realized that comparing my achievements with others' achievements doesn't give me any positive outlook. So the only thing I do when I do end up comparing is I compare myself with my own older version, whether I've improved or not, whether I'm doing a little better than yesterday or not. So moving on to the 9th lesson, which is control the internal, neglect the external. And this one is fairly simple and common sense, but we as humans have the tendency to not understand it sometimes. And this generally helps me with two things. Firstly, it makes me mindful of the decisions that I make, and I become more aware of what is happening from an internal perspective rather than focusing on something external. And I'm kind of using this lesson in all areas of my life. So for example, when it comes to the channel, the things that are within my control, the things that are internal are producing high quality content, me trying to do it consistently. And the things that are external, that are not within my control, is whether the people that are watching it, they like it or not, whether my subscriber count is growing or not. These things are external and not within my control. So moving on to the second last lesson, which is discipline trumps motivation every single time. Before last year, I used to always think that motivation is the key, and if you are not motivated, you can't do anything. But nothing could be further from the truth. Motivation might come and go, but if you have developed a routine, if you have developed a habit, if you are disciplined enough, then that discipline will help you achieve anything you want. Even if you feel unmotivated, even if you feel uninspired, if you have the discipline, it will help you push through and get everything done. So focus on discipline rather than motivation. So finally, we are at the last 11th lesson, which is basically just a simple line. If you are overthinking, write. If you are underthinking, read. And the thing here is that everything that I've learned in the last 1 or 2 years, almost 90%, 95% of it definitely comes from consuming content on the internet, and not Instagram Reels or TikToks, but consuming educational content from either books, ebooks, podcast episodes, audiobooks, articles, blog posts, and the second aspect of actually writing my thoughts down on a piece of paper or an app of choice. Every now and then we come across a situation which is either overwhelming or we are just thinking too much about it. So the habit that I have picked to cope up with it is writing. Picking up my phone or my journal or my laptop and just writing continuously for 15-20 minutes just helps me get everything out of my brain into that piece of paper or the app of choice, which helps me calm my nerves, get some mental clarity, and see things through. So yeah, these were the 11 lessons that I learned this past year that I will definitely carry forward with me in the next year. I hope you learned something out of my experience, and I really appreciate it if you are still watching at this point. As always, I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.